Yeah, right. Can I please just annoy you a little bit more? Because I have made a demo of my idea with sample tracks, and I think that I just need to show you this for once more, and if it's still not interesting, well, then just forget about it. But I like call it low-tech solution, and this is a low-tech solution, and most important, it is in my opinion pretty transparent in respect to CPU usage when the user actually is going to do the real work. Doing the part where the engine works on its own, there might be a small overhead, but I'm not even sure. I do not mean this as something that should replace the very nice idea about how SampleTrack, I sometimes think of them as gold solution. This is the absolute best possible that these presented, but it's also pretty difficult. What I think about this solution or suggestion is that it could be a temporary way to have SampleTrack included in elements in a way that is relatively acceptable. I really think that if this idea was temporary part of the engine until the goal solution can be implemented, then this should go away and never be talked about again. But I think this is really pretty simple, and I don't think it will take a lot of work to implement it as a temporary way to have SampleTrack work even possible in LMS. So that's how you have to think of this: a temporary solution, not something that should replace the absolutely brilliant goal solution that these presented. But I have done some manipulating to a soundtrack in order to demonstrate this, and we're also going to think of the loop markers in another way. And one way to do that could be that now we have this here. When we left click, it enables the loop points, but we could have something with right clicking on them, especially for SampleTrack, and that could, for instance, mean that they change to orange. We have talked about having these as inverse mirrored of only one triangle, and then reverse mirror them, so it's more simple to see what is the start and what is the end point. I still think we should do that. But imagine that when I right click on this button, I get orange loop points. So these are now orange, and I right clicked here, right? The meaning of orange loop points is that they are recording points, because as a user I have decided that from this bar to this bar I am going to do some work in piano roll, because I want to use this bass. I want to use this bass as a bass for this part of my song. And these are now orange, and the meaning of it is that they will not, the playhead will not start into this selection at all. It will start from the beginning of the song, because this is where the sample track starts. This is a continuously sample track. Imagine that. There's no breaks in it. I only put in the breaks in order to do this demonstration. But this is a complete continuous piece of recording. There are no breaks, okay? So when I start playing, I should, as a user, now sit and wait for my playhead to get to this position, and when it comes to this position, a virtual recording will start of a virtual piece of the sample track, these exact 4 bars. They will go into virtual memory. They will go into memory and only stay there, or they could go into a disk sample track that then the engine would load into a simple normal sample track like that. This sample track is the one that I called the WLB in the description. So we will just, this is the WLB, the virtual length recording here we have here, and this track is not visible to the user, or it could be visible to the user. That's not really important, but if it's virtual, then it's not visible to the user. If it's an actual track, then it just comes in like this, the VLB, or another name. I'm not going to decide that. But imagine now that this is a complete continuous piece of recorded material. I'm going to work with my bass from this bar to this bar, that is 4 bars from the 7th to the 11th. That has been decided by me, the user, before I start the replay. So I place my orange record points here, and then I start to play the sample. But listen now to what I have done, because I think this is also possible some way, because I could of course sit and wait until my my playhead, this guy, comes to the record point. But what if this was possible? Then I only had to wait, for instance, quarter of the time, because so now listen what happens when I start to play. Also understand that when the playhead passes this point here, the virtual recording starts, and when it's reaches this point here, the virtual recording will stop, and I have to disable these guys in order to have it start here. So now it's starting, and then listen to what I have done. You understand that? It's just switching through this part of the recording until it reaches the point. Now it's recording. There it left, and I don't have to do anything else here now. Now there exists a recording of this part of my continuous recording, and meaning that this can now actually be disregarded. This is not interesting anymore. Now we are only going to look and work in the WLB. So I'll just drop that in there, and then I'll because this is how I'm going to simulate the workspace. I put in normal loopers here because I want to stay in here, but that is just demonstration, right? You understand, I hope. Then I'm going to open my piano roll, and I'm now going to use this record MIDI notes from MIDI device, and blah blah blah. That's a very long name, by the way, because I am going to do 4 bars of work, bass work, in here. So perhaps there should be a new button, or it could just be this button, perhaps started with the right mouse pressure. pressure, a right mouse press. So imagine I did that now. You can hear the sample track, the virtual, the recording play in the background, and that will continue. And now I can work. I can say, I listen to here and I say, this sounds like I have to use blah, blah, blah. I'll start there. No, no, let's see. Yeah, that's I'm not gonna simulate just like that, right? Yeah. Okay, now I'm actually done working on these 4 bars, and I have made my bass section suited for the parts of the original 4 bars in the middle of the continuous sample track. And I can stop because I'm done. I now have my bass accompaniment. No, that's not a word, I'm sorry. This part of the continuous sample track. And this can now go. We don't think of this anymore. It is out of memory or out of the engine. Because next time I'm probably going to work like here, putting in a bass or solo instrument or something else, and the playhead would have to run to this position, meet the orange record markers, and make a new virtual recording. But in my actual, the thing that the user actually will see is when he starts replaying his complete track, it will always have to start from here, but it will speed up how fast it is possible, and when it gets near to or exact at the point of the orange markers, it will slow down to normal tempi, and we will hear what have been worked with in the whole track. And of course, if these orange markers is not enabled at all, it will play normal speed all the way. Like I can't do that now because then I had to and also pretty annoying to wait for, but imagine that was what's happening. And we're getting up to the point where the composition has been made to fit the original continuous sample track, and we're out of it. That's the idea. That's the very low-tech way I think sample track work could be implemented as a temporary solution. Not even a solution, I don't know, but something that would make sample track reasonably possible. Hate me for it, or let me have some feedback. That's all I had. Bye bye.